they can fucking, I mean, they're spraying the skies, cranking the shit up. What if they can just blow people up with their DNA?
100%.
I mean, dude, if that could happen.
I forget who the guy, that former head of CIA, he's like, whatever you imagine that the government could do, it's 10 times worse.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing MK Ultra in the 60s.
60s.
Imagine what they're doing today.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that got shut down because...
Or they told you it got shut down. Then it just goes black ops, off-site.
Okay, let's end with this. Really good. This is a short one. I just want to piss you off, but genuinely, I want to get your opinion on trans time traveling. Can you go to my text real quick?
Trans time traveling?
Yeah. The top one.
Is that trans?
Well, we're not sure, really.
I'm telling you, these trans are like iPhones. They just keep getting slicker, right?
Did you know that queer and trans people actually experience time completely differently to cis het people?
You moved the mouse off of it.
It's a concept called queer temporality, and it basically has to do with the fact that historically, as queer and trans people, our lives have started much later, and for a whole bunch of reasons, ended earlier than our cis het counterparts. So as a result, our experience of time is compressed. It also has to do with the fact that those milestones that we've been socialized to use to mark the passage of time, so things like marriage or having children or, working, retiring, inheritance, things like that, haven't been accessible to us.
Oh my God.
And that linear timeline has a name. Heterochronology.
Oh
and
my
as queer and
God.
trans people, our experience of time often sits outside that. Basically, it's super interesting, and I'm going to be unpacking it more this week on the podcast. So listen in wherever you like.
How many people listen to this trans time traveling? What's it called?
Heterochronology.
Chronology. Tell me that you aren't privileged without telling me you're privileged.
Yeah, it is. Okay.
Tell me you're privileged without telling me you're privileged.
There is something in...
Trans time traveling? You're making up shit.
You're
literally... Listen to me. You are making up problems.
Yeah.
You're telling me your timeline... Your time is not... Time is mean to you. That's what you're telling me.
Time is mean to them.
Time is being meany to you.
Yeah.
Time is being bigoted against the trans community.
Right, and everybody knows that time is a dimension. It does not have a face, soul, dick, or pussy. And there's something in the kangaroo meat or the marmite or the water in Australia, because Australia is a breeding ground of insanity lately.
Insane trans.
What is going on?
What are you talking about? Heterochronology? Like, did you say that out loud to people? And everyone's like, oh yeah, totally. Like, live your life. It's like so crazy to me that you choose this lifestyle to live the lifestyle, and then you try to act like you're burdened by outside forces because you live this lifestyle.
Outside forces like time.
Like time. Time is bigoted. Time is mega. That's what this lady's saying. Time is mega.
Yeah.
I can kind of understand where she's coming from.
What?
All right.
Okay, explain to me.
For example,
are you Generation Z, by the way?
I'm right on the borderline. I'm fluid.
This makes me think you're a Zoomer.
Okay, so for example, like I have a year and 4 months of sobriety. This first year of sobriety, I felt like this year went by really slow because there was a lot of novel stuff introduced into my life.
Right.
So I could kind of see how, like, if you became trans, that
well, you always were.
You always were, but your lifestyle does completely kind of change.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why we experience time, it gets faster when you get older, is because we get so used to stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're a kid, it's all novel. So it goes slower. So I can kind of see where she's
So what you're saying is that you feel that time is different for trans people.
Possibly.
Here's the thing. Time is different for everyone in different stages of their life.
Of all time.
To put time into a postmodernist box of bigoted constructs is interesting, but also exists in a vacuum and not really here.
It's also like, I mean, like, what do you think the people in Lebanon that their pagers blew up in their kitchen think about heterochronology?
Right. Here, this is the issue with postmodernism, and you're 100% right. Tell me you're privileged without telling me you're privileged. You do not have time or energy to think on, is time bigoted when your pager's going off in your fucking
What
pocket.
do you think the homeless on Skid Row in downtown LA, are they talking about heterochronology?
Well, they're actually talking to the gods that actually know that time is bigoted.
It's so insane.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is very interesting because there is if you get into the same routine, your time flies. They tell you, mix it stuff up so it slows down time.
Yeah.
I get it. What she's saying is that because you're trans, time has a different effect on you, right? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
It's
the implication being that heterodox or heterosexual culture has pushed forth a view or a normalization of what time is for everyone, and they reject that.
Yeah, it's just it's so crazy we can't really explain what the fuck she's saying. That's how crazy this is.
I rescind what I was saying because now
You
that I
don't need
think,
to rescind
No,
it.
Don't
But you don't
rescind.
need to rescind
Don't
it.
rescind.
Well, because there's part of that's valid, but now that I think about it, she's assuming that everybody that's heterosexual just has this great breezy life that goes like
Yeah,
that. But
that's
it's like
exactly
everyone
it.
goes through something. Everyone has. If you get cancer, obviously you're going to experience time a little differently.
It's almost like we're all animals and we're all people.
Yeah, it's just this new thing where it's like, I'm living this new lifestyle. Woe is me now.
Well, it's also this kind of, I don't want to call it psychosis. It's just passion. It's just, being into, it's like Magic the Gathering. I'll fly into new releases and stuff, and you just get super into stuff. But this is a kind of, let's just go with it's psychosis, but it's a light psychosis. It's a Coke Zero psychosis where you look at the world and you try to pluck everything from this tree of postmodernist trans stuff, and it's like, time is time. Time is time. Okay.
Yes.
It's a dimension. It has nothing to do with your culturalism and stuff like that.
What she's saying is time is oppressive to trans community, right? That's what she's saying in a weird kind of way.
What she's saying is that we have not realized how oppressive time is.
Yeah, 100%. This is the whole thing. It's like, this is why I always said, like, there was a movement of liberalism that I feel like was very, very logical, to the point where it's like, hey, regardless of who you are, we should all be treated equally,
right?
And we should all have the same rights. And everyone's like, yeah. And we got to that certain point, but then there will always be a new generation that will always try to go a little farther,
right?
And this is why we're in crazy town right now.
Once you have reasonable liberalism saying, we should all calm down and love one another and have infrastructures for everybody to coexist in a fair way, you have people in the gig economy who are living in a one-bedroom apartment in Santa Monica after they get their matcha overnight oats from Erewhon, and they just have all the fucking time in the world. Yeah, and they're making $95,000 a year. They're good.
Yeah,
they're completely good. So they're reading Derrida, and
what you're talking about is they need purpose. They're looking for purpose, and when their food, their shelter, their clothing is all taken care of,
right?
Your mind wanders into purpose.
Yeah.
And you just need purpose. So she's come up with this purpose that I have to explain to everybody how trans time is different than everybody else's.
And listen, lots of different groups of people fall into this trap of these philosophies that are interesting. Like Ayn Rand and objectivism. It's interesting, but it doesn't fit into this world
Yes.
in a reasonable way. It's
Yes.
just a little cuckoo to say
Yes.
that everybody should act in accordance with their own selfishness all the fucking time. That's not how life works.
And she's talking about this weird kind of time oppression while she has very well done highlights in
Right.
certain parts of her hair
Right.
and not other parts of her hair.
It might be
Right?
natural. Who knows?
Right? I mean, she's gorgeous. I mean, is this a trans?
She's got a podcast though.
Okay.
And people with podcasts
Need
are
to
not,
promote and say crazy shit.
but also they're not really doing that badly. I mean, maybe there are some people out there who have podcasts who are really, really struggling, but if you've got a podcast,
You're doing pretty well.
you're doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well.
You know.
So that was the show.
That was the
It was
show.
a fun, weird show.
SamTripoli.com.
Sam Tripoli, and October 15th will be for the masses. You will get
Quiet.
special quiet. Why is
So
everybody
funny,
getting quiet?
So fucking
Should
hilarious.
be fun. Can't wait.
You've got to get the uncensored version at SamTripoli.com because in that version you can hear the energy of the uncomfortable black woman in the audience, and that is something that you need to pay for. Okay, I mean it's just unbelievable.